Hi friends, thanks again for joining me so soon on another lesson video. The reason why I wanted to do this video was because I had a comment on my Letters of Marque video by a YouTuber named The Slayers We, and he had asked what the solo changes were for Letters of Marque. Now I had done that video, but at the time I didn't actually have Allan's lead sheet for it, and usually when I do these lesson videos I don't particularly feel comfortable talking about what I think the changes are unless I have his lead sheet and I can sort of analyze it with the chords that he's playing with the scales that he's actually playing. So I actually had this before, but I didn't realize it was for Letters of Marque. My friend Livio pointed out in my lesson video that I did on how to read Allan Holdsworth's chart, his sort of shorthand for his scales. Someone attributed that lead sheet that I had for Texas, but actually Livio pointed out it's for Letters of Marque, and when I looked it up, he absolutely was right. And when I did the Texas video, I didn't analyze the solo, and actually I hadn't even figured out what the changes were in the solo when I had done reading Allan's scale chart. But nonetheless, the information that I said was correct. It's just I attributed the picture to the wrong song. Anyway, I have the chart, and I figured what I could do is, since it's missing on the original video, just do a quick video about the chords that Allan is playing and the scales that he's choosing and how he's interpreting it. So might as well just put a bow on that whole lesson, and that'll be that. So now everyone will know, and hopefully be able to play over these changes, or at least get a little bit more knowledge on how Allan thinks of these chords and what they belong to. So anyway, let's get to it. We'll analyze the solo section for Letters of Marque. Alright, so I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, so I'm not going to really go in depth with any of the chord names that I gave them or anything else. So if you want to know more information about the song or the names that I call these chords, you can look at my Letters of Marque video, which I've done already, and I'll sort of link it in the bottom. Also, I'm not going to really go in depth about how Allan views those weird symbols or what he names those scales. I did a whole lesson video on that as well, which you can also look. That's sort of in the archives. But I'm going to just keep it as brief as possible for that kind of stuff, and really just talk about the chord that Allan's playing and sort of what scale he's thinking of it from. So anyway, let's get right to it. Now the first chord is that Allan's playing is built from a E flat minor 9. So I'm going to talk a little modally here, especially for all these chords. So if you're not really familiar with modes, you're probably going to have to look online somewhere, maybe ask one of your music teachers, because I don't want to get too in depth with that now. We have an E flat minor, and we're adding in the 9. So anytime you have a minor, a flat 7, and a 9, there's only really two places that can really be a minor chord with a minor 9. It can either be your 2nd degree, or it could be your 6th degree of whatever key that you're in. Your 2nd degree being Dorian, and your 6th degree being Aeolian. So what scale does this belong to? Now if you look at Allan's chart, you'll see that he wrote A flat Dorian. Now that X means Dorian, so A flat Dorian means G flat major. So little flat keys are not, no one likes flat keys, I don't. So let's just move it up a half step. So let's pretend we're playing E minor 9. Alright? And it belongs to the key of G major. Well, that's very easy to see. That would be E minor. So he treats that chord as mostly like an Aeolian kind of sound. So over E flat minor 9, Allan's playing A flat Dorian, which gives it a Aeolian kind of sound because you're playing in the key of G flat major and you're playing a E minor 9 chord. Now you can also see in Allan's chart that there's really not a lot of there's no real almost rhyme or reason to how long or over what scale do you play what chord, because this chart is really for him and he already knows how the song goes. So obviously I'll be able to guide you through it and show you where the key changes are. So that first chord, this E flat minor at 9, Allan's playing A flat Dorian or G major, or you can think of it as any particular mode, just that scale. Then the next chord is this G major with an add sharp 11. Now, a major chord with a sharp 11 has a very distinct sound. It's really a Lydian chord, which is always the 4th degree of whatever key that you're in. So G major is the 4 of D major. So we would expect to see E Dorian here, and that's what Allan has written. E Dorian fits over this chord. That's what he plays, or he plays in the key of D major. The next chord, this one, whoops, I like to think of this chord as a major 7, D major 7. Of course, you can treat this any other way. You can treat this as like a B minor 7 without the B minor 9, I should say. I'm using D major 7 for this. And this chord also Allan's playing a E Dorian scale over. And that's why in his chart you can't really tell when the change is supposed to happen. You have to actually know the song. So this chord, Allan's still playing from D major or E Dorian, giving it a Ionian sound to it. So, just to recap, over this chord, he's playing A flat Dorian to E Dorian, E Dorian. Now the next chord is, which is a B flat major with an F sharp 11. It's the same chord as we did before. So B flat, another Lydian type of sound, is our 4. So the B flat is the 4 of F, and if you go a whole step up, you would get the 2nd degree Dorian, which is G Dorian, and you'll see that that's what Allan has written. So Allan over this chord plays G Dorian, treating it as F major, or really the B flat Lydian. Now the next chord, I kind of wrote, I believe in my video, I sort of gave it a weird name. I think of, I could be in like an F sharp minor, and you're adding in a flat 13 chord, because you have a minor 7 here, F sharp minor 7, and the flat 13 up here. I think I called it a D major 9. I don't quite remember. I mean, the notes are right. So you can think of it as, if you want to think of it as the root being F sharp, you have a minor 7 with the flat 13. That can only belong to 2 keys. F sharp Dorian, which belongs to D major, or it belongs to F sharp Aeolian, which belongs to A major. And when we look at Allan's chart, he has B Dorian, which is your 2 of A, meaning he's treating this as F sharp Aeolian. Now the next chord, I think I said in my video, it looks like he's doing this with his hand, but I'm hearing this D in there. Well, when I went back and I sort of re-looked at it, I realized I was right. He's actually playing that note with his 2nd finger because his hands are so big. So he's doing this, and then he's moving his 1st finger down a half step, but because his hands are so big, it doesn't look like that. That's why when I do these videos, I like to use as much live footage as I can to get an idea of the fingering, but also use my ear to tell me what am I hearing. So I was seeing this, but I was hearing this. So in this case, the ear prevailed. So I believe just by looking at this, we have an F, the flat 7, the minor 3rd, and the 13, which is a very Dorian kind of thing, having the 6, the natural 6 over a minor 7 and a minor 3rd interval. And you see Allan has written F Dorian. So this belongs to E flat major, or he makes it sound like an F Dorian kind of sound. And then finally, I think I said in this video, there's like 2 measures of not really free improv, but he's not playing a particular voicing. He's just playing within a key, which is something he does frequently. And I believe I called it D major, and you see on Allan's chart he actually wrote E Dorian, because if you watch the video that I did on reading Allan's charts, and he even, I believe has said this, he always thinks of everything as the closest minor. So for him, anything that belongs to the major scale is Dorian. He doesn't think modally. He just likes to think of the actual different interval permutations. So to him, playing in the major scale is always Dorian, or at least that Dorian shape, and you're reusing it in different ways. So that's why he's thinking of that shape as Dorian, but because of the chords he's playing underneath it, it's giving a different modal sound. Like here, over this chord, it sounds like he's playing, since he's playing B Dorian, it sounds like he's playing F sharp Aeolian and then going to F Dorian. But however you view these chords or these scales really is up to you. I've come to realize later in my guitar playing career that Allan pretty much was right by, it seems to be much easier to change keys quickly on the fly when you're only thinking of one scale that you have to play. If you're thinking of all the modes, I think it starts to jumble you up some more. If you're thinking, oh, F sharp, Aeolian, and then to F Dorian, then to D major, I think it's more confusing. It's much easier for me personally to think of everything as one scale. I like to just choose the major scale, but just to think of it as belonging to one scale and just knowing where that has to be played, like he's doing right here. Now the next chord is this. This is D flat minor 9, and as I said before, this minor 9 voicing can either be your 2 chord or your 6 chord of whatever key that you're in. In this case, Allan wrote D flat X, D flat Dorian, so he's interpreting this chord as part of B major, D flat Dorian. Now the next chord is this really nice add 9 sharp 11 voicing. It's built from B major, so we have a B major add 9, and then we're adding in the E sharp, which I hate, but it's correct, which is actually an F. So once again, this is sort of a Lydian sound, a major with a sharp 11. B major is the 4 of F sharp major, and our 2 chord from there, or the second to re, is G sharp or A flat, and that's what Allan has written. Over this chord he's playing A flat Dorian. Now the next chord Allan's playing is actually this major 7 voicing, which is really hard. It's the same voicing as this major 7, but now you're playing it on the top 4 strings. I actually find it easier just to play it up here. So F sharp is the root. So he's playing an F sharp major 7, and the next sequence is, this can only be your 1 chord or your 4 chord, because the major 7, that's the only way that it belongs. But he wrote out A flat Dorian again, and this is an F sharp or G flat major 7. So he's treating this as Ionian, basically. And then the next chord is this A major with the sharp 11. So once again, it's another Lydian sound. We have our A major is the 4 of E, and since, as I said, Allan thinks of everything in Dorian, which is why there's all X's over everything, that would belong to F sharp. So, and that's what Allan wrote out here, F sharp Dorian. So just to reiterate, D flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, F sharp Dorian. Then from here, the next chord is this B flat minor 9, same thing as before, it can only be your 2 or 6 chord. It can either be the 2 chord of A flat major or the 6 chord of D flat major. And in this case, Allan is playing E flat Dorian over it, so this has a Aeolian sound, so it sounds like a B flat Aeolian. Then over that, Allan will sometimes play this C sharp major 7 voicing, kind of a little weird inversion of it. Still playing within E flat Dorian. So E flat Dorian belongs to D flat. So this has this major 7 has like an Ionian sound to it. Then after that, you have 2 full measures of just playing in the key of A, just like before when Allan was playing in the key of D major. And as you can see, he just wrote an A there just to say I'm just playing whatever in here. Now this solo sort of has like an A-B-A-C form. It repeats back to the beginning, but once it gets to the end, there's sort of like an alternate ending and sort of goes somewhere else. So the next, it repeats back from the beginning again. A flat Dorian, E Dorian, E Dorian, G Dorian, B Dorian, F Dorian, and then E Dorian to whatever, D flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, to F sharp Dorian. Now this is where it changes. You play another measure of that A flat Dorian, so instead of it being for 4 beats, it's now 8 beats. Then it goes to the next chord again, just like before. So this is E flat Dorian again, thinking of it as a B flat minor, to that C sharp major 7 or D flat major 7, playing E flat Dorian over it. But now here's the change. Instead of going and playing an A major, you're now playing within the key of A Dorian or G major, and that's why that sort of changes there. That little there's like a little arrow thing. Then from here it goes into the harmonic minor section. I mean, sorry, the Lydian minor section, that whole section. In this, usually when Allan's playing it, he's not playing the top note. He'll just go like, just plays the bottom 3 notes of it. Obviously, to give the room more for the bass player to play. Now, what's interesting is, and this is what I used from my video before about reading Allan's chart, at least with that weird picture, you can see all the different scale choices that he's got over this. Now, even though this entire section even says this is an instructional video, it's part of E Lydian minor. By the way, I was corrected. It's not technically E Lydian minor. It's called it's Lydian diminished, which is the official name. That's the correct name for it, but I don't like that name. I'm still going to call it Lydian minor. I'm sorry. I think most people are going to call it Lydian minor. But I just want to acknowledge that that's the actual name for it, Lydian diminished. But this is part of, let's say, let's make it easier and just say B harmonic major. But you can see there's different choices there that might be harder to read. He's got E Lydian minor, or basically how he thinks of it, E Dorian with the E melodic minor with a sharp 4, or A flat melodic minor with the flat 6, which is A flat harmonic minor. C sharp Dorian with a sharp 4, which is the same, just another mode of harmonic, of A flat harmonic minor. And then finally B flat, the B flat scale, major scale with an added flat 6. I did all that stuff already in that video, so I'm not going to talk about it. But what's interesting here is that you can see other note choices that Allan is using, even though it's not purely diatonic to what he is that he's actually playing. But I think for the most part, this is a very free kind of section where you're just playing inside, outside licks, whatever it may be. So I'm just going to recap it right now. I'm just going to play the chords of the solo and then just yell out what those scales are that is using, and then you can change it however you want. If you want to think of it modally, or how Allan does, or think of everything belonging to a different major key. So A flat Dorian, E Dorian, E Dorian. Oops. Let me start that again. I just learned this like a few 15 minutes ago, whatever it is, so it's still not fresh in my head. A flat Dorian, E Dorian, E Dorian, G Dorian, B Dorian, F Dorian, and then 2 measures of E Dorian. Then D flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, A flat Dorian again, F sharp Dorian, E flat Dorian, E flat Dorian again, or C sharp major 7, and then 2 measures of A major. Repeat again, A flat Dorian, E Dorian, E Dorian, G Dorian, B Dorian, F sharp Dorian, 2 measures of G major, E Dorian, D flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, A flat Dorian, to F sharp Dorian, F sharp Dorian for another measure, E flat Dorian, E flat Dorian, and then 2 measures of A Dorian, whatever. And then this section, all those different scale choices. Let's just say B harmonic major, E Lydian minor, which actually this whole part is diatonic too. Or you have all those other scales that you can choose from if you want. So anyway, that's the whole solo. So anytime I have the actual chart that Allan had used or wrote out himself, I'll use them in the lesson videos from now on. But if something happens where it comes out from a video that I've done already, I'm just going to append to it, because why not? Let's just make it as complete as possible. So those are all the scales. I'll write them out, I guess, on the bottom, and hope you learned something, and thanks for joining me.